G'day everyone, and welcome to day 7, the final day of the IPF Classic World Championships. Um, it was a great day of lifting today. We had the two heaviest weight classes, the supers in the men and women, the 84 kilo plus and the 120 kilo plus classes. If you're wondering where I am, I'm currently sitting on my bed. It's the bottom bunk of a double bunk because I'm staying in hostel, and this is the only place that I have to record because the common area is busy and there's no one here, so this is good. Okay, let's get straight into it. Let's take a look at the nominations. Oop, these are the results. Let's take a look at the nominations or the schedule first. So, like I said, Sunday, it's the last day. We had B groups compete in the morning for both weight classes, 120 kilo plus men and the 84 kilo plus women. And this afternoon, we had the B group compete, the A group compete in these two classes. So that's what was on the menu today. Looking at the nominations in the women's class, this class was always going to be dominated by Benika Brown. Benika is, I think, 15 years or 20 years of competition history. She is by far the #1 nomination. Probably closely behind her, though, is Brittany Schlater from Canada, and she's made some serious improvements over the last 6 months or so, or at least the last 4 months since the Canadian Nationals. So she's a big contender, of course. We've got a few lifters here fighting for bronze placings. Sunita of Belgium, Emily of France, Jewel of New Zealand, and Australia's own Natalie Lalai. I'm saying that wrong. I apologize in advance. And so a bit of a battle going on here for bronze, but it's looking, and silver potentially, but it is definitely looking like the gold medal is in Benika's hands. That doesn't exactly play out the way you might expect, so let's take a look at it. Firstly, we're going to look at the squats. This is Natalie's third attempt squat. It was an extremely high quality squat session, like really, really good. I was super impressed. This is easily the highest quality squatting that we've ever seen in an 84 kilo plus category at a Worlds, or at least at a Classic Worlds. So this is Natalie. She's Australian. She's from Perth on the west coast of Australia. This is a 250 kilo third attempt squat. She managed to go 3 to 3. And like I said, there's always an opportunity. There's always the possibility of scoring yourself a medal, a podium placing, if things go your way and things just don't go someone else's way. So she goes 3 to 3. Jewel of Tassie, the world record squat going into this event is 280 kilos. Yes. And this is not the heaviest squat of the session. This is the fourth heaviest squat of 277.5. So within 2.5 or 3 kilos of the world record, you have 4 lifters. She takes this 277.5 kilos. I really liked her attempt selection. It was nice and spaced out, really leaning into the fact that these are small groups, which means short turnaround times between attempts. Perfect attempt selection. So the New Zealander also goes 3 out of 3. Okay, here we have Brittany Schlatter. She's going for the world record. That's right, the world record was 280.5. So she takes 281. You can see her opener was 255 and her second attempt was 270. So her third attempt here is 280.5 kilos. This is for a new world record. She's the first of the 3 in this group to go for a world record. And like I said, she's made, is that lighting all right? She's made some serious improvements to her lifts over the last couple of months, noted by the fact she's taking a world record squat, and she nails it. Awesome. We're stoked to see that. So she's also 3 out of 3 with a new world record squat. Oh, I've got that twice. And we also have Sunita Muller of Belgium. She takes 285 kilos, or is this 285 and a half? 285 and a half for a new world record. She was successful with her first 2 attempts once again. And so she's got 285 and a half kilos on the bar to break Brittany's world record. So she's lifting immediately after Brittany. So Brittany's watching in the wings, wondering if she's going to keep her world record. And the answer is no, she's not, because Sunita nails this 285 and a half kilo squat. She's got 2 world records. Last but not least is, of course, Benika Brown. She goes to 289. I was a little bit surprised by this attempt selection. Usually, if you're going to go for world records that are well above the world record, so like the world record's 285 and a half, generally, if you're going to like smash the world record, you go by 2.5 increments plus a half kilo for the chip. And she's the heaviest of the lifters, so that chip would have made sense. So I would have expected like 288 or 290.5. I don't know why they chose 289, but nevertheless, it's 289 kilos. Maybe this is like a landmark in pounds, 650 or something. But nevertheless, we have 289 kilos by Benika. She also nails it. And so all those top girls that we've just gone through have gone 3 out of 3. Nobody's missed a squat, and we had 3 world records. So it was an awesome flight of lifting. Well, yep, and we can take a look at the standings here, so you can kind of get a bit of an idea as to what those numbers were. Here we go. And so you have Bonica Brown with the gold medal, 289, Sunita Muller of Belgium with 285.5, and Brittany Schlatter with 281. Followed closely by Jewel Tazzi with 277.5, and the Australian Natalie with 250. Okay, moving on to bench. Natalie, this is her 120 kilo bench. Oh, she actually goes 3 out of 3 on the bench press with this 122.5. So she got the 120. She got her opener at 115 also. And this is 122.5 kilos. So admittedly, she's on the lower end of the bench spectrum. But again, going 3 out of 3 is important. She's a huge deadlifter and has deadlifted over the world record at home. When I say at home, I mean in Australia. Okay, Jewel Tazzi here. This is 127.5 kilos. So she's in for a chance here for a placing medal. She has gone 3 out of 3, which is what you need on squats. She's now taking her second attempt bench of 127.5. And if you've been watching the series, you know that if I'm showing second attempts, it's probably because they missed their third. So she nails 127.5. She comes out for 132.5, so 5 kilos more. And this proves to be too much. So she loses some kilos there. These are potentially valuable kilos in the total. Sunita, she got her 135 opener and took a 7.5 kilo jump to 142.5. A not outrageous jump at these kind of numbers, for sure. Very reasonable. But she kind of gets this weird downward movement. I think she might have just misgrooved, lost some balance on the way up. And so she gets given a no lift. So that's a no lift for her, 3 red lights. But she comes out on the second attempt and she gets she chooses the same weight of 142.5. You can see she's really used the clock here. We're really fortunate in this session. The refereeing, to me at least, seemed very reasonable and very consistent. Unlike you might have seen some of my commentary in previous sessions where there was a lot of inconsistency, a lot of overrules. We saw nowhere near as much of that. So Sunita gets her third bench, so she finishes 142.5. This is Bonica. She takes a second attempt bench of 152.5. And she gets that, so it's a good lift. And she comes with 155 on the last attempt bench. So she opened at 145 kilos. She went to 152.5 kilos. Now this is 155 kilos, and that is a little bit too much. So Bonica, the heavy favorite, she got her squats, which is obviously her primary lift. 2 benches, only missing 2.5 kilos on the bench. Brittany Schlatter is here with 155. She went 142.5, 150, and now 155. So some very good attempt selection because she goes 3 to 3. And now she's on 6 out of 6. And what you need to realize is that squat that she did of 281, I think is like 20 kilos more than she did at Canadian Nationals. So she has made a huge improvement in the last 4 or 5 months. And so while her nomination showed she was 20 kilos behind Bonica, when she made that squat, everyone was on notice. Bonica was on notice of like, oh shit, you are actually a red hot chance. You are a legitimate contender to win this tournament. And now that she's gone 6 out of 6, that likelihood is even stronger because this bench is above her nomination too. We have Amélie Mierge of France. Again, I apologize to the French for my pronunciation. She benches 160 kilos on the second attempt, and the world record bench press is 164.5. So kind of an odd number there for the world record. And understandably, she goes for the world record on her last bench. This is 165 kilos. She was never going to be a strong contender for totals, being a bit more of a bench specialist. But she does want to go for the bench press world record, and so this is 165 kilos that we are watching here. And it just proves a little too heavy. So she finishes the day with 160 kilos on the bench. So taking a look at the standings, these are the standings. What are we looking at here? Of the bench press, of course. So Amelie gets the gold. Matilda Hiale, who we didn't see, benches 155 and gets the silver. And Brittany Schlatter is in the bronze medal position on the bench press. So Brittany finishes bronze both squat and bench. So she wasn't the best squatter. She wasn't the best bench presser. But when you're up there, across all three lifts, you are a very strong chance. Okay, we're going to take a look at the deadlift now. If you've seen my recaps in the past, I usually just check the standings after the first round of deadlifts. First round of deadlifts are often very, uneventful. And so we usually just check in at the end of the first round of deadlifts to see what the totals are, who's where in the placings, and what they need in order to jump placings. But we're taking a look at Benika's opening deadlift here because at 240 kilos, she gets red lighted. She gets a no lift on this lift. If my memory serves, actually, she does get it initially and then it gets overturned. No, it is a red light. It's completely no lift. And so our champion favorite doesn't have a deadlift on the board. So that's a little bit scary. I also want to show you from the opening round, Natalie Lalai from Australia, because she goes for the deadlift world record in the opening round. Deadlift on the opening round. This is crazy stuff. Like I said, the standard in this 84 kilo plus class was just phenomenal. 3 world record squats. We have a world record deadlift in the opening round. So she nails that. And, Natalie's one of the chances on the podium. So she's going to use that deadlift weapon to jump into position where she can. You can see in first place is Sunita with 673, then Brittany Schlatter at 671, Natalie Lalai on 630. So you can see from Natalie Jewel, it's quite a far run down, but the third place is open because Benika is not on this list. Oh, she's here in 12th. She actually shouldn't even be on this list at all because you don't really get a total. You don't get a total if you haven't done a lift, if you've missed all your lifts in one lift, if you don't have a valid attempt in one of the disciplines. Jesus. But you can see she's not in the mix at all because she hasn't got her opening deadlift. So if she does get her a deadlift in, she'll obviously jump into this top 3 category, and the podium will then be out of reach for the gang down here. Okay, let's check out what happens in the second round. We have Jewel Tassie taking 237. I really am a big fan of the attempt selection by Team New Zealand in this competition. 222.5 kilo opener and now 237.5 kilo on the second. It's kind of 15 kilo jump is what I would like to be taking around these kind of weights. And she nails it. So really clean deadlift. So she adds 15 kilos to her total. We now have Benika Brown. And one thing I didn't mention actually in Benika's opener is that deadlift would have given her the world record total. So on an opening deadlift, she would have gotten the world record total because she squatted so much. And so she comes out and retakes the same weight. And again, this is for the world record total. You can see the total rank is 12 to 1. Well, this is from nothing to first because she's currently got no total. And so the same lift, 240 kilos. This is for a world record total and to get into the first place position. This would have given her 681 or something on the total. 681 and a half. And she gets 2 white lights on this lift, but then he gets overturned. And so it's a no lift for Benika. And so she's actually left in a really sticky situation where she's does not have a total on the board. Let's have a look at Brittany Schlatter. The interesting thing about this attempt selection here of 247.5, while this might have very well just been part of the plan, this takes her total to 683.5. And had Benika got that second attempt deadlift, then Brittany still would have been in first place. So very good attempt selection by Team Canada to pick a weight that puts you in first place at the end of the second round. That's a very good strategy. That's the way I like to attack second attempt deadlift attempt selection. Put yourself in first place at the end of the second round if you can. Very nice there by Brittany. So she gets that lift, and now she's got the world record total. Okay, we're looking at Sunita. She's taking 260.5. So with her second attempt deadlift, she's trying to take the world record deadlift off the Australian. And don't forget, she's battling for medal position because now that Benika has got no deadlifts, there is definitely an opening on the podium for either the Australian or the New Zealander. And Sunita could be in the bronze medal position as well if things... No, I don't think so. I think she's too far behind. But she's fighting for first with Brittany. So this is 260.5, which she gets. And 2 white lights. So that's a good lift for Sunita. And Natalie, the Australian, comes out with 268. This is a new world record once again. So we've got 2 lifters that are at world record territory for deadlifts. We've got Brittany at world record total. We have, of course, Benika at world record total. We have 3 world record squats. So the standard here is just phenomenal. This is 268 for a world record in the deadlift. And so she gets that lift. That's also a good lift. And let's just go back here and just check. Yeah, this puts her into first place on the deadlift rank. You can see that here, but her total rank doesn't change. And so at the end of the second round, these are the totals. We have Sunita on 688.5. So Sunita's deadlift, actually, that 260.5, puts her in first place over Brittany. Very good attempt selection by Belgium. Brittany Schleyer's on 683, and Benika is still yet to register a deadlift. If she gets her deadlift opener, she'll actually be in third place because these girls have already picked attempts to jump that. And so she's in a sticky situation. Does she go up in weight, trying to go all in for gold medal, or does she just accept the 240, get that on the board, finish in third, and accept that she's lost, but not bomb? So very tough decision. You can see here the battle for potentially third or maybe fourth is very tight. The New Zealander is on 642.5 and the Australian is on 640.5. So there's a 2 kilo difference there. It's important to note that Natalie is heavier than Jewel, so she's going to need to out total her cleanly, not just equal on body weight. And so Natalie's got a 2 kilo gap there to make up. So whatever Jewel jumps, let's say she jumps 10 kilos, Natalie's going to have to jump 12, right? Because she's got to make up that 2 kilo gap. Actually 12.5 because she weighs more. All right, let's check out what happens in the third round. Benika comes out. She accepts that she's not going to win this tournament. You can see total rank 13-3. She just takes 240 once again. Now, if you were paying attention, you might have noticed that Benika was deadlifting in the first 2 rounds sumo with a belt. She comes out of here without a belt, and I've gone, maybe she's going beltless to see if that's going to make a difference about her lockout. And then she takes a conventional stance. So I'm thinking, holy hell, she is completely flipping the script. And this is not an uncommon strategy. When you've missed lift twice, sometimes you've got to make a radical change. I think she's even in weightlifting heels here. And so they go conventional beltless. She gets to the lockout, but it's super sticky. And in no world is that going to be a good lift. And so Benika Brown, who had the world record squat, who was the heavy favorite, bombs on deadlifts with a 240 kilo lift. You know, generally speaking, when someone is in good form on, say, squats, that usually means that they're in good form in general. Like, it's usually a good barometer. You've got the leg strength, you've got the back strength to squat 289. So your leg strength and back strength should be, relatively speaking, good, for your level. And so, yeah, very surprising there for Benika. Very sad, obviously. She's a multi-time world champion, world games champion. So she bombs. And so first place is up for grabs between the Belgian and the Canadian. Meanwhile, the Australian and New Zealand are fighting for bronze. Jewel has taken a 5 kilo jump here. And so you know that if Jewel makes this 5 kilo jump, then the Australian has to jump 7.5. If Jewel misses this, then the Australian just needs to jump 2.5. So Team Australia are watching with bated breath as to the result of this lift. I think they made a really good choice here, the New Zealand team. They chose a relatively conservative attempt. I think she had another 2.5 or 5 there. But all they needed to do was stretch the Australian lifter because the Australian second attempt deadlift wasn't the fastest second attempt deadlift you've ever seen. 268 wasn't great. So now they've got to jump 7.5. They've got to go to 275.5 if they want to take in bronze. Okay, back to the number 1 and number 2 on the podium. We have Brittany Schlatter. She went 247.5 on the second. She's taking 10 kilos. The hard thing for Team Canada is that they are technically, they are deadlifting in front of the Belgian. And so all that Canada can do is put up the best total they can and just hope for the best. They are currently 5 kilos behind, I believe, if we can jump back to here. What is this? That is 8 minus 3 is 5. They're currently 5 kilos behind Sunita on the total. And let me just check who's the heavier lifter. Does it say here? I don't have it. So they're currently 5 kilos behind, and so Brittany could just jump 5 kilos on the deadlift to 262.5. Here we go. She could jump to 262.5 to be equal on body weight. I believe Brittany might be lighter, if not 7.5, but they've chosen to jump 10. And I like this attempt selection because not only does it... Yeah, if you've heard me speak before, I've said sometimes all you need to do is just get in front and put pressure on your opponent. That's when you're really, like Agatha, for example, in the 76ers did that perfectly. In her last deadlift, she got in front of Carlina and at least was in front temporarily. Whereas here, Brittany does have a little bit more in the tank. And so they choose a 10 kilo jump to not only just get in front, but get in the front by a proper 5 kilos. This proves to be the right choice because she nails this lift. Brittany has a super meet, 9 out of 9, world record squat, 3 to 3 on the bench. a big PB deadlift here with 257.5. And so she's clearly in the lead. And yeah, I think Brittany must be the lighter lifter because Sonita now is forced to take 267.5. You can see that down here, 267, total rank 2-1. 265 would not have been enough because that's only a 4.5 kilo increase. That makes sense. And so Team Canada did excellent attempt selection here to choose a weight that they knew Brittany could do, but would force Belgium to take a jump that they couldn't do. So amazing attempt selection, very good reading of a lifter. You know, attempt selection is not just about knowing what numbers to put on to beat other people and doing maths, but it's also having a sense. It's saying, yeah, we don't think that Belgium can jump 7 kilos, so let's make them jump 7. It's knowing what the other lifters' limits are and forcing them beyond that. And so, you know, I've kind of given it away here, but Sonita needs 267.5 to jump into first place and become the world champion. And it is damn close. And she gets a no lift here. And it makes me wonder that if Brittany's third attempt deadlift, instead of being 257.5, was 255, like if they were a bit more conservative, then Sonita only would have needed 2.5 less. And that might have been the difference. So, I mean, the perfect day by Brittany Schlatter. Congratulations. You are the world champion. Last lift of the session was Natalie, or at least of the group, was Natalie Lalai. She's currently in 5th, and this deadlift is to take it to 3rd. So she's jumped to 7.5 kilos, like I said earlier. And this is to jump over Jewel of New Zealand. Not only a world record total, but to get onto the podium. You know, this is an opportunity that doesn't come around very often, that the #1 favorite bombs out and you are handed an opportunity to get on the podium. So this is awesome lifting here. But it just proves a little heavy and the lockout just quite isn't there. And so Natalie finishes with her, she still finishes the world record deadlift at 268, but in 5th place. And so these are the total standings at the end of the day. We have Brittany Schlatter on 693.5. She is the world champion. Sonita missing that last attempt deadlift to jump her on the podium. 3rd place is Jewel Tazzy. 4th place is Amelia Miager, actually, whereas the Australian could have jumped into 3rd had she made that last deadlift, but it proved too much. And Benika Brown, who was the heavy favorite, finishes without a total. Huge upset. And importantly, if you want to post a world record in an individual lift, you have to have a total. So although Benika squatted at 289, she doesn't actually get that world record. The world record goes to Sunita Muller of Belgium. Very interesting. And very surprising, I'm going to say. All right, let's jump into the men's. We're going to take a look at these nominations now on the men's. Here we are. This is the 120 kilo plus category. The #1 favorite by a mile was Jesus Olivares. He won Sheffield. He has a world record total. He's 150 kilos, 140 kilos above the next best nomination. But the battle for the silver medal is going to be close between Timur and Kosak of Georgia and Turkey. They're going to have a big battle for 3rd, and that's what we're mainly going to be focusing on today. There were a couple of interesting things that happened, however, and so we will take a look at those along the way. All right, back to the lifting. All right, in the squats, Jesus, we're starting with him. He squatted 455 as his 2nd attempt squat after squatting 425 as an opener. Thing about Jesus is that he's already got a ticket to Sheffield. He just needs to win Worlds. And so you're going to win Worlds because you're so much stronger than everyone else already. The key is to just not have a disaster happen like what happened with Benika. It's to be conservative. And so they open super light on 425. They take this 455, which was fine. And they choose not to take a 3rd. They're like, let's just call it there. I think that's a very wise decision. Kosak is on 370. Whoopsie. And he's one of our top 2 podium contenders, remember? Or at least silver and bronze. He squats this 370. And he goes straight to 3. So beautiful attempt selection by the Turk, I believe, yes. Here is Timur. You can see this. He squatted 380, then missed 405. And then he's going to 405 again. So he's taken a 25 kilo jump. Relatively daring attempt selection here. And it ends up not paying off because he just straight up fails. He fails 405 twice, actually, not on a technicality. So he just left 20 kilos on the table there, essentially, because if he squatted 400 or 395, could have added some kilos to the total. So when you're in a close battle for the podium. You can't be dropping kilos, and I've said this 100 times before. This is the Libyan. He went to 370 and then missed 400 and then goes to 405. So I think the Libyan here is nominated in 4th or 5th. And, as I always say, there's always an opportunity if something goes wrong. But the reason I want to show you this is because this lift actually gets initially given a good lift and then later turned down as a no lift. And I want to see if you can spot the reason. So he gets one red light and it's a blue card. And if you know what the blue card is in squats, it's for soft knees or potentially downward motion. Didn't look like there was any downward motion. So it must be for the soft knees. But I mean, even at the lockout, that's pretty close. So a little bit unlucky there. He actually gets only 1 out of 3. Yeah, and this score sheet isn't actually up to date. They haven't updated this yet, but that 405 is invalid. He finishes there on 380. So the silver medalist is actually Mehdi from Iran, followed by the Swiss from the B group, and Jesus, obviously gold medal in the squats, unsurprisingly. Does that get updated? Yeah, there we go. Gets updated there. You can see. So the Libyans, he's stuck on 370 actually because he jumped to 400 in the second. So he went from potentially winning a silver medal to all the way down here in 9th. That's how tight this group was. Okay, jump into bench. Timur takes 230 kilos on his last attempt bench press after going 220 in the second round, which was good. Nice fight, good attempt selection. Very important kilos on the board there for Timur. But it is given a no lift, and that is for the hips coming off the bench. So you're going to see that from the side angle here now. It's clear as day, and I say that because you can see the lights here. Interestingly here, actually, it's not the best angle, but funnily enough, there's actually a big light on the other side of the lifter's hips here that's used specifically to see the light that comes underneath the butt there. But anyway, that's a no lift. So that lift gets overturned. We have Kosak here. He's taking 240 on the second attempt. Whoopsie. He's such a quick lifter. It's raining outside now, so I just got distracted. That's a 240 kilo second attempt bench press. And that also is given a no lift. And you're going to see that again. I think it's the same thing, hips coming off the bench. So the lift we saw earlier, Timur, that was his third attempt. Yeah, you can see the light behind this lifter's knees. Yeah, a bit of a butt lift there. And so he comes out and takes the same weight, 240. And this is very important because, especially in the third round, Timur's failed that third bench. If he gets this third bench, that's a 20 kilo turnaround as to what could have happened if Timur had gotten it and he missed it. And 20 kilos, I mean, you can lose a competition by body weight. So he decides to keep his butt on the bench and he nails a third attempt bench press. The Turk gets 240 kilos on the board. Yeah, it's 3 white lights. We have Jesus Olivares. He missed his opener on downward motion. I was a little bit suspicious of the downward motion call because what happened was the bar hit the rack on the way up and kind of like swung around, but I didn't think there was any downward motion. Anyway, he chooses to repeat. Like I said, he's just being conservative. He just needs to essentially just needs to put up a basic total and he'll win this competition. Kind of clicks the rack again there, but this time it's no issue, so it's 3 white lights. And he comes out for 267, so he takes a 17.5 kilo jump. If you watch Sheffield, you'll know that he took the same opener there at 250, went to 265 on the second, and then the third attempt went to 272.5, 7.5 kilo jump, and he went 3 out of 3 at Sheffield on bench. So this is 5 kilos below what he benched at Sheffield. And it's just too much. Spotters take it pretty well there. It's a big weight to catch. And so Jesus is 1 out of 3 on bench after going 2 out of 2 on squats. Okay, last lifter we're going to show on the bench is Ilyas Bugailem of Algeria. He's been coming to Worlds. I remember him at Worlds in Finland in 2014, and he benched like 270 back then. So he's the strongest bencher of the group by a mile. This is a 280 kilo second attempt bench press. He blows it up. He's the one that's got the current world record in the bench press, in the 3 lift at least. And you can see he's a bit of a showman. He's signaling number 8. Apparently this meant 8th Worlds in a row, breaking the world record, which if that's true is hilariously amazing. Okay, he goes for 292.0. This is to break his own bench press world record. And you're going to see that this 292 proves too heavy. But man, that's amazing bench pressing. Okay, too much. So at the end of the bench press section, the gold medal goes to Ilias on 280. Jesus, only with his opener, managed the silver medal with 250. And you can see the rest of the lifters down here. Okay, at the end of the first round of deadlifts, we're going to talk deadlifts now. As you know, like I said earlier in the 84 kilo women's section, I like to just jump to the end of the first round. Jesus is on 1,055. So if Kosak wants to make up that gap, he's going to need to add 75 kilos to his deadlift. That's not going to happen. So safe to say, Jesus is your world champion by the first round of deadlifts. But the battle for silver is really close. You've got 980 and 960 here. So it's looking like Kosak is, 20 kilos in the lead on deadlifts. And I've said this so many times, the only way you can lose a big lead is if you leave the door open. And you're going to see that's what happens. Because, yeah, Kosak has a 20 kilo lead over Timur. This Sean Coach guy, he actually competed in the B group. So this is his final total of 957.5 after 3 deadlifts. Whereas everyone else, or at least all the top guys, this is after the first round of deadlifts. So he's not really in contention now for a podium. And Libya is down here at 945. Remember, they coughed up 35 kilos on squats after missing that third squat with an overall. So they should be right up there, but that one squat's cost them a podium, essentially. Okay, let's take a look at what happens in the deadlift section. So this is really interesting. This is the Ukrainian we haven't seen. You can see the clock's running on 39, 38, 37, 36. He makes his lift. The clock should stop as soon as the bar breaks the floor, but the clock keeps running. You can see there, the clock keeps running 34, 33, 32. And what happens over the next 15 seconds is they load the bar for the next lifter, who's the Spaniard, Ruben Rico Martin. And the table never actually stops the clock. You can see the clock a little bit better here. And so they never stop the clock, which means they never start the clock. And so Ruben comes out. I haven't skipped any of this video. And you can see he's got 13 seconds on the clock because this should be, they didn't restart the clock. This is the time from the previous lifter, from the Ukrainian. And so I'm watching this lift going, wait a second, how the heck is he about to time out? And you can't see the clock in the footage. There it is. The clock's run out before he's lifted the bar, and he gets declared timed out. Now, obviously, the Spanish coach was like, how the heck did he time out? He walked out immediately. That makes no sense. And so they appeal to the jury, and the jury realizes, oh, yeah, there was an error at the table. And so, yeah, you didn't actually time out. But they make him do the lift at the end of the round. They say you can have a reattempt. And it's just so unfortunate because, yeah, like a reattempt is not just as simple. Like you've just wasted all this energy on an attempt that's not valid. Like I just wish they could just adjudicate this lift. Like watch this lift. It looked good. That's white lights. But instead, the referees, instead of voting on this lift, they just all gave him reds, like you can see down here, because it was a no lift. But it's like it wasn't a no lift. Like I don't know. I almost wish the referees just adjudicated the lift as is, and then later decided if it was timed out or not. So a bit of an unfortunate thing there for Team Spain, but good job by the Spanish coaches to go to the table and speak to them. He gets reattempted at the end of the round. We're going to see that. All right, Timur, he was 360. Remember, he was 20 kilos behind Kosak of Turkey, and he takes a 17.5 kilo jump. So it's not enough to jump into the lead, but it's enough to build a total. You know, he adds 15 kilos to the total. Now, he is heavier than Kosak, so keep that in mind. Kosak takes 390 now, so this is to give him 1,000 kilos on the total. He's on 980. This is to get to 1,000. And this is essentially to put silver medal out of reach from Timur. And there was talk that this guy could even go for the deadlift world record. The world record's 410. And he blows up his 390, but he just doesn't fully lock out. And kind of unfortunately, he gets turned down. It's a no lift. I was a little surprised by that. I thought it was pretty good. You can see his eyebrows go up like, dude, are you sure? Look good to me. So a little bit unfortunate, but this is considered a no lift. And when you miss a second attempt deadlift, you open the door for your opponent to sneak in behind you. Okay, this is the end of the second round. Ruben Rico gets a reattempt. They call bar loaded, but because there was such little time between his second attempt and his reattempt, the Spanish coaches make a really smart decision here. He's not super up there in terms of medal placings, and so they don't see the need to risk anything, or not the need to risk anything, but they don't see it as a risk to skip this. And so that's what they do. You can see the time. I'm just jumping ahead here. They just time this out. They just go, we're not even going to bother. Let's just accept it as a no lift. We'll save the gas. We'll give everyone a whole minute's rest, and we'll just get it on the third, and we'll blow it up on the third. And so we're going to take a look at Ruben Rico's third attempt. You can see he's not even in the, why is he not in the standings here? He should be. Maybe he's just not in there. He was on 325. Yeah, okay. This is 347. So he was successful at 320. They skipped 337.5, and now this is 347.5 to go into 6th from 9th. So good attempt selection here, good awareness by the Spanish coaches in the end to take a 347.5 kilo last deadlift. They get that. Good work. Okay, now you remember that Kosak of Turkey, he missed his second attempt deadlift of 390. So his total is stuck at 980, which was 20 kilos above Timur's at the end of the first round, who did 360. And now Timur's going to 382.5, which is 22.5 kilos more than his opening deadlift, which is now a 982.5 kilo total. You can see he's on 975. This is adding 7.5 to the second attempt deadlift. This is 982.5. This is, as you can see here, total rank 3 to second. So with this deadlift, the, I believe, junior world champion is now going to jump into second place. You can see the totals here. It's 5 kilos behind. This is a 7.5 kilo jump. So this is to jump into silver medal position over Kosak, Senate Kosak of Turkey, who missed his second attempt deadlift. Of course, the Turk is still to lift, and he can easily jump back into second place with, what should be a reasonable attempt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken it on the second. Excuse me. But the Georgian gets this. He's all smiles. He's in the silver medal position. He got one squat, unfortunately missing 405 twice, 2 benches, and now 3 deadlifts. And so it's kind of been a bit of a back and forth about giving each other opportunities, because Kosak, the Turk, he went 3 out of 3 on squats, while the Georgian went 1 out of 3. And now we're getting a reverse situation. Let's take a look at what the Turk is able to do. He's on 980. The Turk is on, the Georgian is on 982.5, but this is for 1,000 kilo total because he can't go down in attempts. So this is for silver medal and 1,000 kilos on the total. You'll notice here he actually switches to mixed grip, where he's been doing hook grip the last 2 attempts, and it's just not enough. He's just not able to do it, and he finishes the day in bronze medal position. When you've gone 3 out of 3 on squats, and your closest opponent's a 1 out of 3 on squats, you're licking your lips. You're like, oh, here we go. This is a chance now. I can win myself the silver medal. Winning silver behind Jesus is not something to complain about. But when you go 1 out of 3 deadlifts and your opponent goes 3 out of 3 deadlifts, yeah, that's what happens. Okay, Jesus was successful at 350, 375. He already won the world championships with his opening deadlift. So we're all expecting him to come out on this last deadlift and not even take it, just shake hands with the referee. And it was funny, Ryan Lapadat on the commentary, when he kind of realized, oh, Jesus is actually going to do this. He got, his voice was really funny. He was super excited. It was a really good lift off the ground, but grip just loses it at the top. And so it's a no lift. That would have been a world record deadlift, his own, 410.5. But that's an no lift for Jesus. So he finishes the day with 2 squats, 1 bench, 2 deadlifts, 1080 on the total. Crazy total to think he only, he didn't have his best day, and he wasn't being super, didn't go all in, I suppose. Basically 100 kilos behind in front of second. Timur, he got 1 squat and 3 deadlifts in second, and Senk Kosak, who got 3 squats and 1 deadlift in third. Libya in 965, if they got that third squat, the lift that got overturned where it was 405 instead of the 375, instead of the 370, they would have added 35 kilos to the total, so they would have been on 1,000 kilos. And so they kind of gave away a silver medal for a 4th place with 1 lift. So pretty hectic battle there in the 120 plus class. That is the last round of lifting. Now, before we run away, we are going to take a look at the team standings. I wonder if this has been updated since the last lifting finish. We're going to refresh this page. It has been. Okay, the number 1 team is USA on 50 points. France closely followed in second. Now, when Benica bombed in that round, I was like, oh, hell, does this mean they're going to cough up best female team? Fortunately not. Fortunately for them, they're already on 50 points. And so it wasn't a critical result for them that Benica totals at all. Because I thought maybe if she doesn't total at all, that could be the difference. But no, that's very good. In order for France to have won, the French lifter in that session would have needed to come and go 12th, is first, 9th, 8th. So the French lifter would have had to come second, but the French lifter came in 4th. So it didn't make a difference in the end. So super close battle, and really impressed. I'm really impressed with New Zealand coming in at 3rd. a country of like what population of like 5-6 million or so. Third strongest team. You got two winners there in Carolina Tongatoa and Beevy, of course. Evie Corrigan. So two world champions in there, followed by Canada, Italy, Great Britain, and Australia doing not too half bad actually, with a couple of fifth places. I believe that's 3 fifth places. Best lifter goes to Natalie Richards. She's on 122, good lift points. Carola Garda on 122. Like I said, I wonder if Carola could have squeezed out another. I mean, what's that? That's like probably half a kilo or a kilo there. She wasn't on any world records on squat and deadlift, but she could have probably squeezed out a little bit more on bench. I don't remember if she got all three benches. I don't think she did. So very close there. Amanda Lawrence also very close to winning best female lifter. She just missed it on a last deadlift. So the best female lifter at this World Championships was Natalie Richards. She's only 25. I believe this was her first Worlds. So that is a phenomenal effort. Best female team goes to Team USA. All right, taking a look at the men's. Let's refresh this. Yeah, your best male. Let's refresh it. Sorry. The best US team, unsurprisingly, is Team USA. They had 5 world champions in Casper in the 59s, not the 66s, not the 74s, Delaney Wallace in the 83s, Keiko in the 93s, and now Jesus in the 105, 120 pluses. So 4 world champions and a second place. They're the best male team by a mile, and France is in second. So France second both ways. Also super impressive for a country that is relatively small, and doesn't have a strong history of powerlifting. I mean, only 6-7 years ago, they barely had any teams at the Worlds, so that is an amazing result. Sweden in third, again, a very good result for them. They had a world champion in Carl Johansson. Great Britain also had a world champion in Tony Cliff. Spain in fifth, which is a great result. They had a second place in Ivan Campano in the 59s class, followed by a couple of countries here, and your beautiful Australia is in 26th. Damn, tough result for Australia and the boys. That's it for my coverage of the oopsie, of the IPF Classic World Championships. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been a crazy week, lots of updates. I hope you enjoyed my recaps. They kind of got a bit cleaner and better by the end. I apologize for the first few days when they're a bit clunky. And I hope that kind of gave you an opportunity to hear what another coach thinks of some of these attempts, and yeah, give you a summarized view of them if you weren't able to watch the live stream as they went. If you made it all the way here, leave a comment. I only had one person actually do this yesterday, which was really funny. But if you made it all the way to the end, leave a comment or send me a DM and say that you got to the end of this video. And yeah, I might even consider doing these for future championships, maybe for the Junior Worlds, maybe for the Equipped Worlds, maybe for World Games in the future, maybe for Australian championships as well. Okay, that's it from me. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.